Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about a commonly misunderstood topic, which is, fractions. So today in this video, we're going to be talking about how we add fractions, how we subtract fractions, multiply fractions, and divide fractions. So to start off, let's talk about what is a fraction. So what is a fraction? Now, you may see fractions a lot in your common day-to-day life. You can see it whenever in a test or something, your teacher might give you a fraction grade, or you could see it while weighing something. Something could weigh about 1.5 kilograms. So we can say that fractions are anything where we are dividing a number and it is not a whole number. So let's talk about a few fractions. A very commonly used fraction, a few commonly used fractions are 1/2, 1/3 of, and 1/4. So over here, let's take one fraction, 1/2. So this can be said as 1/2, 1/2. Or you can just simply say it 1/2. Because over here, this fraction means nothing but 1/2. So what are the parts of a fraction? Well, this top part right over here is a numerator. It is the top number and it is the number that is being divided. And this lower part is called the denominator. So over here, the denominator is the number that is dividing the numerator into this many pieces. So where would we use the fraction 1/2? Well, when you're dividing one thing into half, like one chocolate bar into two pieces. So over here, if you have one chocolate bar and you're dividing it amongst two friends, then you're using the fraction 1/2. So now that we've talked about numerators and denominators, let's start by talking about how we add fractions. So where would we use the concept of adding fractions? Now, let's take our previous example where we had 1/2 of a chocolate bar. And let's say another person had 1/3 of a chocolate bar. So and you wanted to find out how much chocolate both of you guys have in total. So over here, you'd be adding 1/2 plus 1/3. So how would we do that? Well, we're going to be talking about the bottom part, which is our denominator. We're going to be focusing on that. So to do that, before we start doing that, let's talk about a topic called LCM. So what is an LCM? An LCM stands for lowest common multiple. So over here, what is the lowest common multiple? Well, when you have two or more numbers and you want to find out what is the smallest number that is divisible by both or more or as many numbers as you have. So smallest number divisible by all the numbers. So if that's a bit confusing, think about it this way. Let's say we had the numbers 2 and 3. Or let's take a different example. Let's talk about 5 and 6. So what is the smallest number that is divisible by both of these numbers? So there are a few ways to find the LCM, but we're going to be focusing in one way of how you can find LCM. So if you take 5 and 6 and make a table like this, if you think about what their factors are, you can find out that 5 and 6 have no common factors. So we would just start by focusing on one number. So let's start by 6. One of its most common one of its factors are 3, and we want to focus on prime factors if you want to do prime factorization. But if not, in this case, we're not doing prime factorization, but we're still going to factor it. So 6 has the factor 3, so 5 and 2, because we're dividing 6 by 3. So that gives us 2. Now we have prime numbers, so we're just going to put in 2 right here. So that gives us 5 and 1. And lastly, we have 5, so we have 1 and 1. So what do we get from this? So if you notice the numbers on this side, we have 3, 2, and 5. And if we find the product, that means if we multiply all of these numbers, then we will get the LCM of all of these numbers. Of 5 and 6. So what's 3 times 2 times 5? That gives us 6 times 5, which gives us 30. So that is one way to find the LCM. So back to our original question, which was how do you add 1 by 2 and 1 by 3? So over here, we're going to be focusing on the denominators, like I said earlier. We're going to find the LCM of 2 and 3. So what is the LCM of 2 and 3? Well, if we work it out, we can find out that the LCM of 2 and 3 gives us 2 times 3, which is 6. So we're going to convert these fractions into denominators into other fractions which have the denominator of 6. So over here, we have our first one, 1 by 2. So we're going to multiply our denominator by 6. We're going to change our denominator into 6, and we're going to divide 6 by 2. Our answer gives us 3, and we're going to multiply this number by the numerator. So 1 times 3 divided by 6 gives us 3 by 6. And if we cancel out these, we can see that this simplifies to 1 by 2. So over here, we have the correct simplification. We have the correct fraction. Now let's convert 1 by 3 into a fraction with denominator 6. So 3, we're going to turn this 3 into 6, and we're going to divide 6 by 3, which gives us 2. And we're going to multiply this by 1. So 1 times 2 gives us 2, which gives us 2 over 6. Canceling it out, if you cancel it out again, you can see that 2 by 6 reduces to 1 by 3, meaning we have the correct fraction. Now that we have both of these fractions, 3 by 6 and 2 by 6, we can go ahead and add them now. 3 by 6 plus 2 by 6. If we want, we can make this into one fraction, which gives us 3 by 2, 3 plus 2 by 6, which gives us 5 over 6. So our answer of 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 gives us 5 over 6. Now let's talk about subtracting fractions. Now, subtracting fractions is pretty much the same as adding fractions, except in this case, we're going to be subtracting the numbers instead of adding them. So if we wanted to find out what 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3 is, then we do our same process again. We would find the LCM of 2 and 3, which gives us 6. So 1 by 2 is the same thing as 3 by 6, while 1 by 3 is the same thing as 2 by 6. So we're going to be, So we're going to subtract these fractions, which gives us 3 by 6 minus 2 by 6, which gives us 1 by 6. So our answer to 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3 gives us 1 by 6. Now let's move on to multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions has to be my favorite operation with fractions because it's the simplest. So over here, all we have to do is directly multiply the numerators by themselves and the denominators by themselves. So if that doesn't make sense, don't worry. Let's take our original example, our original number fractions again, which are 1 by 2 and 1 by 3. If we wanted to multiply 1 by 2 by 1 by 3, all we'd have to do is practically multiply these numbers with each other and multiply these numbers by each other. So that gives us 1, because 1 times 1 is still 1, and then 2 times 3 gives us 6. So multiplying fractions is pretty easy. And lastly, dividing fractions. Dividing fractions is probably one thing that a lot of people struggle with because it's complicated. So over here, let's take our original example again, original numbers again, which is 1 by 2 divided by 1 by 3. So over here, we're going to have to take the second number and find its reciprocal. So let's talk about reciprocals. So reciprocals are pretty simple. They're exactly the same thing except flipped. So the reciprocal of a fraction would be flipped fractions. For example, 8 by 9, the reciprocal of 8 by 9 would give us 9 by 8. The reciprocal of 6 by 7 would give us 7 by 6. So we're going to take our second number, which is, again, 1 by 3, and we're going to find the reciprocal of 1 by 3. So the reciprocal of 1 by 3 gives us 3 by 1. So our original question was 1 by 2 divided by 1 by 3. So now that we know the reciprocal of 1 by 3, we can sub that in. 1 by 2, and we're going to change the division sign into a multiplication sign. So 1 by 2 divided by 1 by 3 is the same thing as 1 by 2 times 3. Now, how do you multiply fractions with whole numbers? Well, I'll remind you that a whole number is basically a fraction with a denominator of 1. That means 3 is the same thing as 3 by 1. After that, we can simply multiply the fractions, which gives us 3 over 2. Writing this as a mixed fraction, we get 1 by 2. So our original question, which was 1 by 2 divided by 1 by 3, would give us 1 over 2, 1 over 2, or you could just write 3 over 2. So now that we've talked about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions, let's do a few examples. So there you have it, a tutorial on how to deal with fractions in an equation. If this video helped, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.